Hey everybody, welcome to subscriber Q&A. I'm sorry that I am now 8 minutes late because I tried to start my stream and I was having a problem with my streaming key. The streaming key is the thing that you have to get from YouTube Studio, and then you have to also put it in your streaming software. And something got glitched up because I've already set up FabFit Friday in my upcoming streams, because I'm very excited to announce we're having Trisha from the Creative Costume Academy join us to talk all things fitting on Friday. So be sure to join me on Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time with Trisha, and we're going to have a really fun conversation about fitting and maybe some other surprises. So definitely join us for that. Today, I was going through my questions and comments on my YouTube channel. I really tried to answer everybody a day or a day later after they ask me a question on my channel, just so I don't get behind, and plus I don't want people to wait for answers. And I got a really good question about getting the inseam in the right spot. So this subscriber basically explained in her question that her seams are hanging straight, her balance lines are square and straight, her muslin is comfortable, and she's happy with it, except for the fact that her inseam is too far forward. So she's describing the fact that the crotch wedge in the back is way too long and it's pushing the inseam too far forward. So I just want to show you how you can deal with that. The good news is that I did have some experience playing with my inseam when I was developing my Sorsha Classic Slim trousers. When I started working with that pattern, hi Lynn. Oh, so Lynn said, I wondered how you're doing 2 streams live at once, because my studio kept saying switch to FabFit Friday or change your stream key, and I didn't know how to change my stream key at first, so I was trying to figure it out, and I started the stream for FabFit Friday by accident for a hot second, but then I shut it off. So Lynn, I commented on your comment about the Aliso iron. I spoke with my contact there, and she wanted to know what color you picked out, because it shouldn't take, until November to get an iron. So if you tell me what color you picked out, I can have her check for you. So that was one thing I just was doing before I came on. Let me see. The other thing I wanted to say was, yeah, well, I guess I'm going to go back to my topic. Hi, Diane. Thank you for coming yesterday. We had the first live Q&A for my pants class with Threads Magazine, and we had a really nice hour of questions and answers with Sarah McFarlane on Zoom last night. It was really fun. So I got to do that. And I'm all jazzed up about pants, so I'm really excited that I have a pants Q&A to talk about today. So again, to wind things back to what we're doing today, I am going to show you how to move your side seam around, and an inseam. And I think I was saying that when I was working on my Sorsha Classic Slim trouser pattern initially, like when I was trying to develop the pattern, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make a really long front crotch curve. So the inseam will be in the middle of the inner thigh. And I did that, but what happened was I realized every time I sat down in some of my test muslins that when I sat down, the pants wanted to pull to the back. It was almost like the front crotch curve was too long. And even though the total length was correct, sometimes having that seam too far back or too far forward can create a situation where it doesn't feel comfortable, or it doesn't look comfortable, or it causes the crotch curve or the crotch and inseam to shift when you sit. Because when you sit, everything kind of wants to slide backward because your butt is pushing into the fabric. So basically, I want you to think about the inseam as if it were a style line. So let me switch my view here, and I'm going to show you some things. I made some copies of pants pattern here so I can show you. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off one of the inseams so I could butt them up next to each other here. Hi, Vicky. Oh, the first video was frozen. I know, I was having trouble with my streaming key, and I thought I mistakenly started FabFit Friday by accident, so I apologize for that. I feel like today nothing has nothing has been going smoothly. The dogs escaped from the backyard, and I found my 3-month-old puppy and her mother gallivanting 2 streets down, which almost gave me a heart attack. So it's been like that most of the day for me here. All right, so look at what I'm doing. I am butting up my inseam so we can see where the crotch curve is. And basically, the crotch curve can be moved forward or backwards. So if you're finding that, like in the case of the subscriber's question, this is too long, and she would like the front to be longer. So really the easiest way to accomplish that is actually it's I'm sorry. So the easiest way to shift this is literally to cut some of the back off and put it onto the front. All right, let me just stop and see here. Oh, Lynn says she ordered the pink one to match your mini, but you're going to be out of town, so it's okay. You'll wait for it. All right, well, I'll tell her that, you know, and then we'll be twins because I have a pink. My iron's pink too. Amelia, hi, how are you? Thank you for joining. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I am going to decide how much of the back crotch I want to move to the front, and I'm literally going to just sort of sketch it out. And depending on what you're doing, you can, you know, take off some to the knee, or you can take some down all the way. It's really, you know, up to you in terms of, you know, how much you want to move over. But usually, you know, if you take it off to the knee, and actually my knee's a little bit lower. So if I draw myself a very gradual thing like this, you can see I'm going to take this off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it over here, and you can see what happens is if I cut this off here, and then I'm literally just going to, I'm going to cut it off on this end too, like this. So here's my little wedge that I cut off. And then watch what happens. If I take this wedge and I flip it over, I can literally tape it to the front like this. So I'm not changing any measurements here. All I'm doing is taking part of the back crotch extension and I'm putting it on the front. And I'm just going to tape it all the way down. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to put this back together and line it up again. And you want to just make sure it's going to be a nice transition. Now you can see, let me put a yellow under there so you can see what's happening. So if I put this, excuse me, I'm so sorry, I'm yawning. If I put this on yellow paper, you can see that it's got a little bit of a jog in it now. I'm going to bring this up close. So the whole idea here is we want to have a smooth transition from front to back. So if I line these up so they match, you can see now, oops, the back, I mean, the intersection kind of peaks up here because it kind of comes up and then goes back down a little bit. So you want that to be nice and smooth. So what you're going to do is you're going to literally just smooth that off to make it match like this. So we're not really changing anything other than we've added, I take this off now. So I'm literally going to cut this. Let me just take this off of here. I'm literally going to cut this little part off. Okay, and you can see what's happened is I've now added more crotch extension to the front and I've taken it off the back. Now, in the case of me working on my my Sorsha Classic Slim trousers, this is what my front crotch looked like. It was more of a longer curve and a shorter curve in the back. And I ended up doing the opposite. I took this off, flipped it over, and taped it onto my back. So it really depends on where you are with your pattern, what the original shape was, and then, you know, how it's fitting and feeling on your body. Because if it's not, you know, if it's not comfortable, and if you feel like the whole thing is, you know, too close to the front, taking some off the back and adding it to the front will fix that for you. The other thing I think you can see here is, now that I've fixed that like that, if I highlight this shape, you can see, and if I just highlight this shape, you can see these two shapes are almost symmetrical now. See how they look like they have the same amount of curve in there? So that also sews together better if your inseams have a similar shape. They tend to agree with each other as you're sewing your inseam. So basically, this is how you adjust your inseam. You know, and I just took a wedge off, and I really didn't go down to the bottom. But I mean, you could also, let me just show you another example. I have a different pattern here. Let's work with, oh, I think it's the same pattern, it's just long. Let me keep with the ones I was doing. So, you know, another thing you could do, whoops, let me make it a little bit bigger so we can see. Cut this off. And let me cut this one off too. So another thing you can do is, if you feel like your inseam is too far forward all the way down to the hem, you can literally do something like this, where you actually take off an entire, you know, the entire inseam, and then you would do the exact same thing to it. You would cut it out, flip it over, and stick it on the front leg like this. You know, and then when you do this, what you want to do is you want to walk the edges and make sure they still match as well, like your overall length. But basically, this is another way you can do it, where you're actually making the whole entire inseam from crotch to hem wider. Let me just stop here. Hi, Cindy. Good afternoon. I am at lunch, but wanted to say hi. I will watch the replay. Have a wonderful afternoon. Also, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. You are so welcome, Cindy. Thank you for stopping in on your lunch break. I appreciate it. That is so nice. This is kind of a quickie. You know, this is not a hard, long topic here. I just wanted to jump on and explain this to, for the subscriber who asked the question. Usually when I'm working on answering questions, I try to answer every question I get on my channel. And if it's something that's going to take more than a few minutes to type an answer to, those are the ones that I'm likely to say, all right, let's just make it a subscriber Q&A. And that way I can show instead of type my fingers off. So I'm going to just cut this off here now too. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to put my... Hey, Anne, welcome. I'm showing how to shift the inseam And in this case, we're shifting it to the front. So what I've done is I have cut off a section of the back inseam and crotch extension, and I've taped it onto the back. And if I were to just highlight, this is what I cut off, flipped over to mirror image it, and then added it to the front, that section right there. So basically what I want to do now is I'm going to put it like this. You always want to start at the knee, right? And you want to check it and make sure it still matches. So I'm just going to walk this along, and you can see what's happened here is my back is now longer than my front. And the reason why that happened was I cut off, hold on one second, where is that piece I cut off? I cut it off. I cut off the bottom of the, where did I put it? Ugh. I trimmed off the bottom of the front leg because it was sticking down, and I shouldn't have done that. So let me just put that back because it really shouldn't change that much. So let me just put back the little bit I cut. It's probably about this much. All right, I trimmed it off and I shouldn't have. All right, so this is really part of this. Now let's walk it. All right. So when I walk this around, you're going to see that it should match, but you want to check it to make sure. Oop. So as I walk this down, you can see if I pick it up and look at it, you can see that it matches pretty nicely right there. And then again, you want to line up your inseam and then just true that up. So if it's not exactly fabulous, you can just give that a little bit of a smoothing front to back. Now keep in mind, like I said, you could do this in reverse too. If you're working with a pattern that's got too much here, you can then shift it over here as well. Vicki is asking, will this make the leg hang better when standing? On my muslins, the side seams seem to flatten at the knee so the leg doesn't look round. Side seam seems to flatten so the leg doesn't look round. Okay, so part of that might be, Vicki, that before you sew your hem, like before you turn your hem up and sew it, sometimes the whole leg opening will be kind of flat, because especially if you have a big, if you're doing top down center out style and you've added big seam allowances to your sides like this, that weight will create the distorting the hem a little bit probably. But also, you know, if it's flattening at the side seam, I don't know that adding here will fix that. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest and tell you I don't know if that's gonna help with that. This will help with, you know, this is primarily to get your inseam to be where it's comfortable and attractive. I don't know if it's going to help over here. I think it's more likely that if this is doing something flattening or feeling like it's not fitting right, maybe you need to adjust it up at the waist a little bit. I mean, excuse me, is your hem hanging parallel to the floor, Vicki? So the sides seem to flatten at the knee so it doesn't look round, but is the hem parallel to the floor, and do you have big seam allowances? Because if you have big seam allowances, or if the hem is not parallel to the floor, it could be that you need to pull it up a little bit or adjust it at the waist. All right, so I think this is what I wanted to show, and I know it answers the subscribers' questions about this. Does anybody have any additional questions that they're curious about with moving your inseam? I will point out to you that if you are, and let me get one of my longer legs here, if you are prepping your pattern top down, center out style, meaning you're adding here to your side seam, okay, you're also adding extra at the top for fitting, right? And then you're also adding to your inseam extra, like this. I generally add an inch extra on the inseam and 2 inches here, so plus 1 inch here, but you're going to sew at 1 1/2 inches your original seam, like this, and over here. What that will allow you to do is it will allow you to adjust the position of your inseam, you know, within an inch in either direction. So when you're working with the single leg muslin, if you don't like where the inseam is hitting you after you balance the front and back leg, you can let out the inseam in the front and take in the inseam in the back, or vice versa. So that would be another reason why you might want to start by adding extra around the edges and then make a single leg muslin with a separate waistband, because I'm really finding that, you know, having that extra crotch extension both in the front and the back gives you the flexibility to you know, it gives you the flexibility to adjust these things so you don't end up with the problem later on where you have to actually do this. So if you're new to pants fitting, consider checking out my top down, center out, or whole scoop series. And actually, I'll put a link to part 1 of the troubleshooting pants fitting, which talks about picking sizes. Part 2 shows you how to prep your pattern and remove excess ease on the back leg and some other things. But I do think starting out with the single leg muslin might eliminate the need to even need to do this, because you are adding extra to your inseams that you can adjust before you get to that second leg. So that might be a good idea as well. But I mean, either way, either prep your pattern like this and let out or take in the crotch points as needed, or if you're in the section where you already have a 2-leg muslin or you've already gotten pretty far in your fitting, and if your inseam is too far forward, just cut some off the back and put it in the front, and that will push the inseam to the back. So that is my exciting topic for today. I am teaching a class for pattern review at 3 o'clock today. Sewing mistakes, how to avoid them and fix them. It's going to be a Zoom class. Also between, this is very action-packed because, you know, Wednesdays is Granddaughter Day. So I ran around to 3 different stores to find all the different Halloween decorations I think we need to decorate the front of the house. So that's what I'm going to be doing when I get off here. I'm going to pick up my granddaughter from school. We're going to do a speedy Halloween decorations, and then I'm going to be back on live with pattern review to teach my sewing mistakes class. All right, so Vicky is saying the legs on the muslin aren't full length, but I think they are parallel to the floor. I haven't fitted the wrist, the waist and hips with TDCO, so I could try adjusting the inseams with extra seam allowance. Yeah, waist. Yeah, I got that, Vicky. That's before you do any of that, turn the hem up and baste it like you've turned up your hem allowance. Press it and just baste it up and see if that fixes it. Because sometimes the pant leg will also just fold flat because it's not hemmed yet. So sometimes pressing the inseam, pressing the side seam, pressing the hem up will fix that. So before you go and do anything drastic, see if it's just because it needs to be pressed and the hem needs to be turned up. Mama said so wants to know if the inseams stay the same the same length when you do that. And the answer is yes, because literally you're marking off a section here, you're cutting it off, you're flipping it over, and then this edge, which was the inseam edge, will be the inseam edge in the front. So it should stay the same length. I added some to the bottom of this one because when I was taping it on, it was sticking down, and I just cut it off like a little gnat. Like I should have just left it there. I don't know why I did that. So, cutting this off right here, okay. So when I turn this around and tape it on, oh, see, it is longer again. Let's just see. I'm going to just tape it right here. I'm not going to cut anything off. Let's see if it's the same. I mean, it might vary a little bit, but I mean, it should be pretty close. So let's just do this. So now I'm lining it up with the bottom here, right here. And you can see it does almost match. It's a skosh. It's like a tiny bit, it's a tiny bit lower. So what you can do here is mark where it is, right? And then put it back, line that up, and then maybe redraw your curve and then smooth this out. You can smooth it out like that. And it could be that this happened because I've cut off 2 now. So I think when I did it the first time it matched. But basically, it's a very, very small amount, and then you can just true it up. All right, so I hope that answers your question. Mama said so. And okay, Vicky's good. She's going to try that. Let us know what happens with that, Vicky. And yeah, so that would be my tutorial for today. So I'm going to pop off in a minute, but I just want to show you now that I've cut all this off and I've put it all over here, you can see there's almost no crotch extension in the back now. So you can imagine if you were to sit down, your butt would slide back and it would cause all of this to pull back with it. And that's basically what happened when I was doing my Sorsha Classic Slim trousers. It wasn't this drastic, but if you feel like your pants are sliding back and the whole inseam is sliding to the back, then in that case, I would take some off the front and add it to the back. So, you need to play with it, but really a lot of where the inseam needs to be is based on how it feels. So if it's feeling good and it looks good, you're fine. But if it feels like the front is pulling to the back when you sit down, take some off the front and put it onto the back. Just do the reverse of what I showed you. And if you're standing up in your pants and you can see your inseam, then take some off the back and put it in the front. So those are my, general tips for moving your inseam around. All right, so that would be my fun subscriber Q&A for today. I just want to remind everybody to join me on Friday for FabFit Friday because I will be having special guest Trisha from the Creative Costume Academy with me. I love her. You know how you meet somebody and you immediately click with them? That's what happened in this case. Like she came to one of my classes at ASG and we immediately became fast friends. So I'm excited to have her. She's ultra talented and I know you're going to love meeting her and showing her some love on her YouTube channel as well. And she has a really cool Instagram. So join me on Friday for that. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Subscriber Q&A. I'm going to go get all of my goblins, ghosts, and ghouls together with the little spiders and the spider webs and go pick up my granddaughter to decorate the front of the house. Maybe I'll post some pictures of our progress in my Facebook group later so you can see the Halloween decorations in action. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you on Friday for a special episode of FabFit Friday, live at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Savings Time still. like for a few more weeks. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.